Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect idea. For crying out loud, Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities wasn't a perfect idea. Plato's Republic wasn't a perfect idea. Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet wasn't a perfect idea. You might have had some idea that you wanted to write about, but you always shrugged it off. My idea has too many loopholes. It's too complicated. There's not enough tension. My work can never stand up to the greats. All of these conclusions are holding you back, truly. And I'm going to show you where your thoughts are going wrong, why you don't need a perfect idea, what you can do about it, and how to actually start and pick up that pen or open that Word document. Okay, so before we get into the meat of this subject, let me explain why you, the viewer, are no different from me or anyone else in regards to this subject. Starting to write can be daunting and honestly quite humbling, but I also know that you will be a better writer for it and a better person. No one expects to have a six-pack after their first day at the gym. And just like that, no one should expect to have it all figured out before they even write their first word. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, there will be a lot of conclusions your brain will come up with, like, I will never be as good as the greats. My story is too complicated. What you need to know is these conclusions do not matter. We've all heard it before, but comparison is the thief of joy. Your story is your own. There's a beauty in that, really. Second, your potential will never be realized until you actually start. Yes, maybe the first thing you write isn't all that crash hot, but maybe it is. Until you take action, you will never know. So now let me explain why you don't need the perfect idea and why the best pieces of literature to ever grace this world didn't have a perfect idea either. So writing in its most pure form is an act of self-expression, nothing more. So by holding on to this idea that you can't write anything until you have the perfect idea, what you're actually doing is denying yourself, denying the deepest parts of your consciousness in having a form of expression, to be experienced and thus perceived by anything else other than your own mind. Don't you think that's a little selfish? Don't you think that the world deserves to see what you have to give? Even if you want to write and not show anyone, not publish or post it anywhere, you are still robbing a part of the world, the part of the world that makes you. So when the greats like Charles Dickens or Shakespeare first started writing, what do you think went through their mind? Do you think it was perfectionism? I think it was curiosity. Yes, you might say that they had natural talent, and that gave them the confidence to continue to write. But do you think that before they even started, they knew of this natural talent? Or do you think that a school essay about a topic that they don't really care about would have really shown the full expression of their creativity? I don't. I believe until you really give something everything you have, you will never know what you have to give. So, curiosity. I truly believe that that should be at the forefront of your mind as you write. Write because you are curious as to what the final product will look like. Write because you are curious as to how far you can take your ability up the mountain of what could be a beautiful piece of art, something that could possibly change lives, but definitely change yours. So when you start thinking about how this story is going to unfold, or why you can't do it, remember, judgment comes second, action first. You have so much to give. I just know it, and you know it too. So stop trying to be perfect. Let go of understanding what it all looks like. Just like in life, you will never know how something's going to look like until it has passed. And you will never know how impactful the act of action will have until you make it happen. Finally, let me show you exactly what kind of thought process you need to start writing, whether that be just a journal, or a blog, a book, or a script. So this thought process is made up of 3 parts. So part 1, allow the mind, body, and soul to express itself freely on the page. Fuel it with love and curiosity. Like I mentioned before, the depths of your mind can only truly live when you let them free. Number 2, do not judge before you start, and also try not to judge during the process as well. As if you judge during the process, you'll probably get stuck in a loop where you create a first draft, you'll create a first chapter, and then you will rewrite the first chapter and rewrite it and rewrite it, and 5 years will go by, you've gotten 50 versions of chapter 1 and you haven't progressed at all. The judgment comes after the fact, when you're ready to revise and edit. An example of this is if you try and write a book, the first draft is going to be a mess. Every great writer says this, and some of them spend more time editing their first draft than actually writing it, and not just the ones with no raw talent. Let me give you some quick names and quotes by highly successful authors in their field. And remember, these people spend more time editing and revising than creating their first draft. Ernest Hemingway, the man behind Sun Also Rises and A Farewell to Arms, famously said, "The first draft of anything is shit." He also rewrote the ending to A Farewell to Arms 47 times because he said, and I quote, "I wanted to get the words right." Next is Zadie Smith, who wrote White Teeth and On Beauty. She writes very slowly and often reads what she's writing aloud and revisits past chapters as she's writing her book. I did say that that's not really recommended. For most people it isn't, but I guess with some people it works because she still has an amazingly large body of work. She's also known for tearing apart drafts over and over again before anyone sees them. And she also said, don't romanticize your first draft. It's only the beginning. Next is Neil Gaiman, who wrote Coraline and Good Omens. He writes longhand and then actually rewrites the whole book when he types it up, which is kind of insane, but you know, props to him. He once said, you write your first draft to see what the story looks like, and you write your second draft to make it look like you knew what you were doing the whole time. And finally, Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale and The Testament, who often talks about the importance of revision and rethinking the purpose of what you're writing and why you're writing it. You get the point. These are all highly successful writers who spend more time editing their first draft than actually writing it, because the magic isn't in the first draft, it's what comes after. And the final point, have confidence in your ability to get better, to improve. Now, if you're someone who can't stop judging as you're in the process, work with it. Tell yourself over and over that you will improve. And what you're doing today is planting the seeds that with time, curiosity, love, and confidence will bear fruit. I promise. So to sum it all up, remember these things. First, comparison is a thief of joy, and your story is your own, and there's a beauty in that, really. Second, your potential will never be realized until you actually start. Third, even the creme de la creme of writers, there are authors out there that spend more time fixing their mistakes than writing the first draft. And lastly, just like the masters of literature, there is no perfect idea. There is only grit, perseverance, curiosity, and confidence. Comment down below any questions you have, or if this has given you some clarity in regards to actually starting. I'd love to hear it. And now, if you think you're finally ready to actually jump in and start writing, you will be on the right path. Ciao.